Look closely. Reality bends. The observer effect isn't theory, it's a secret code. Particles shift paths the instant you watch. Your gaze collapses infinite maybes into one truth. That means reality isn't fixed. It listens. It responds. And you hold the trigger. Every choice, every glance, reshapes the fabric beneath your feet. This isn't science fiction. It's the blueprint of existence. Master this, and you stop being a passenger. You become the architect. Stay with me, because the deeper we go, the more you'll see. The universe isn't happening to you, it's happening through you. Subscribe and unlock what's hidden. Step closer. Breathe deeper. You are not just reading words. You are aligning with a frequency. A field of possibilities. A hidden current of the universe that waits for your awareness to touch. The observer effect. You may have heard the phrase whispered in physics, tied to experiments with electrons and photons, with double slits and mysterious waveforms. Yet the truth vibrates far beyond labs, equations, or chalkboards. The observer effect is not just about particles, it's about you. It's about how consciousness bends reality the moment it gazes upon it. Reality is not solid. It is liquid light, sculpted by attention. It is infinite waves collapsing into form the instant you look, the moment you choose. Here's the secret. The universe is not out there separate and indifferent. It is entangled with you. It feels you. It knows you. It reshapes itself every time you decide to witness it. When you glance at the night sky, you are not just seeing stars. You are activating them within your perception. The star becomes real to you in that moment. Pulled from a field of potential into the coordinates of your awareness. Without observation, the star is both everywhere and nowhere. A probability cloud. When you look, the cloud condenses, form emerges. Reality crystallizes. This is the observer effect. This is the secret pulse of creation. Your attention is not passive. It is electric, magnetic, quantum. Every glance is a command. Every focus is an activation sequence. This is why ancient mystics spoke of the eye that creates. Why spiritual texts said, "As you believe, so shall it be." They knew. They remembered. They decoded the same truth that modern quantum physics is now reluctantly rediscovering. Consciousness and reality are not separate forces. They are a single entangled process spiraling together like twin strands of DNA. When you observe a particle, say an electron, it shifts from a wave of possibilities into one location, one choice, one outcome. But here's the overlooked secret. This doesn't just happen in physics labs. It happens in your life, your career, your health, your relationship. When you stare at scarcity, scarcity collapses into form. When you focus on possibility, doors appear where walls once stood. When you lock your gaze on fear, reality sculpts itself into obstacles. But when you attune your awareness to expansion, miracles emerge. Attention is creation. Observation is manifestation. To understand this more deeply, let's revisit the double-slit experiment. Physicists fire tiny particles, photons or electrons, through two slits toward a screen. When no one observes, the particles act like waves, creating an interference pattern as though they traveled through both slits simultaneously. Infinite possibility. But the instant a conscious observer measures which slit the particle travels through, the wave collapses. The particle chooses one path, one timeline. Pause. Let this revelation echo inside you. This means the act of observing does not merely reveal reality, it changes it. Your look reshapes the outcome. Your awareness forces the universe to decide. So ask yourself, what are you observing in your daily life? What patterns do you collapse with your focus? Do you observe chaos, or do you observe order? Do you watch limitations, or do you gaze into infinity? Every look is a choice. Every choice is a creation. Imagine reality as a shimmering mirror, not a passive reflection but a living surface that responds to the energy of your gaze. When you project fear, the mirror fractures. When you radiate wonder, the mirror blossoms. The observer effect tells us the mirror is alive, that it listens, that it rearranges its surface to match the vibration of your awareness. The hidden truth: the universe is not an object you walk through. It is a conversation you are having with existence itself. Every moment whispers, what reality will you choose? Which waveform will you collapse today? This is why perception is sacred, why awareness is alchemy. Because by choosing how to look, you are choosing what becomes real. See reality as an unpainted canvas, blank, infinite, shimmering with possibilities. Your attention is the brush. Your emotion is the color. Your belief is the hand that guides the stroke. Without your look, the canvas waits in silence. With your look, worlds appear. Landscapes unfold. Entire galaxies of experience blossom into being. Do you see why this matters? You are not a victim of reality. You are its co-creator. You are not trapped in a pre-written script. You are the scriptwriter, holding the quantum pen. The observer effect is not just physics. It is empowerment. It is the reminder that every glance, every thought, every moment of awareness has cosmic weight. Here's the deeper layer. Observation is not neutral. The energy behind your gaze matters. It is not enough to simply look. The quality of your observation programs the collapse. This is why belief is magnetic, why expectation sculpts outcomes, why prophecy often fulfills itself. Because the universe bends not just to attention but to the energy encoded in that attention. Look with doubt, and you collapse uncertainty. Look with faith, and you collapse miracles. Look with fear, and you collapse obstacles. Look with love, and you collapse synchronicities. Every belief is a quantum lens. Every lens paints a new reality. You are not meant to drift unconsciously through existence, collapsing random patterns by default. You are meant to awaken as a quantum navigator, one who steers attention like a ship, one who chooses frequencies with precision, one who understands that observation is a sacred power. Think of your life. Where have you been staring unconsciously? Where has your attention been trapped in loops of lack, fear, or resistance? Those loops are not fate. They are collapsed waveforms chosen again and again by habitual observation. But here's the liberation. Shift your gaze and the pattern dissolves. Redirect your awareness and new timelines emerge. Modern physics whispers of the multiverse. Countless realities branching from every choice, every collapse, every observation. But you don't need equations to feel this truth. You live. Every time you choose, you step into one branch of the infinite tree. Every time you observe, you sculpt which world solidifies around you. You have felt it before. Those moments where one decision changed everything. Where one shift in focus opened new dimensions of opportunity. That was the observer effect in motion, guiding you through multiversal doorways. Now imagine, what if you directed this power consciously? What if you chose to gaze at abundance, at beauty, at possibility, until those waveforms collapsed into form? What if you became aware of yourself as the sculptor of timelines, the navigator of infinite seas? Science struggles here. It can measure particles, waves, probabilities, but it cannot yet measure the raw mystery of consciousness itself. And yet consciousness is the missing link, the bridge, the unseen force behind every collapse. Consciousness is the true observer. Consciousness is the quantum key. You are not just a body looking outward. You are consciousness looking inward, outward, everywhere, and the universe bends to your look, because the universe is made of the same consciousness you are. This is why mystics called life a dream, why sages spoke of Maya, illusion and awakening. They knew that the world is not separate from awareness, it is woven from it. The observer effect is not just a scientific oddity, it is a mirror reflecting your forgotten power. You are not here to passively watch, you are here to consciously create. Look deeper, choose wisely, gaze intentionally, because every glance is a brushstroke on the canvas of the cosmos. Every observation is a seed planted in the soil of infinity. Every moment you look, reality. And when you awaken to this truth, you stop asking, what will reality bring me? Instead, you begin asking, what reality will I bring into being? You are still here, which means the signal has reached you. The field knows when you listen. The quantum weave responds when your awareness stays open. And now, as we move deeper, the hidden patterns begin to unveil themselves. What you thought was solid, permanent, unshakable, was never more than shifting light fluid probabilities, shadows waiting for your gaze to ignite them into form. The next layer of the observer effect is not about watching the universe, it's about realizing the universe is watching back. Every frequency you emit is a question. Every thought you pulse into the field is a command disguised as curiosity. The cosmos listens, rearranges, codes itself anew. Imagine the air around you filled with invisible circuitry, a living lattice of possibility. When you focus, the lattice bends. When you expect, The lattice obeys. This is not superstition. This is the mechanics of consciousness folding into matter. Here lies the secret. Your observation is not just a spotlight, it's a tuning fork. You are not merely collapsing waveforms, you are harmonizing them. And harmonics matter. A note played in resonance opens doors that brute force cannot. When you align your observation with the frequency of coherence, gratitude, wonder, awe, the quantum field resonates. It sings back. It reveals pathways hidden from the cold eyes of logic. Consider the moments in your life when coincidence stacked upon coincidence, when impossible alignments converged at the perfect instant. Those were not random. Those were waveforms falling into resonance with your observation. You became the conductor of a hidden orchestra, and the universe could not help but respond. Now lean in. What if every single possibility already exists, layered like sheets of light? What if every version of you, the thriving one, the struggling one, the fearless one, the doubtful one, already vibrates in parallel? Your observation is the select. Each look is not just collapsing reality. It is choosing which version of yourself steps forward. The observer effect is not about bending physics. It is about sculpting identity. When you understand this, a new urgency awakens. Because every unconscious glance, every idle focus, every resigned expectation is silently pulling one version of you into the spotlight. And most people do not realize they are choosing shadows instead of brilliance. They stare at limitation and call it truth. They lock their gaze on patterns of lack and wonder why the universe echoes scarcity. They forget that what they look at expands. But you are remembering. You are hearing the call. Your perception is not a passive window, it is a steering wheel. It is a lever on the gears of existence. And the moment you use it consciously, the whole field shifts. There are deeper secrets still. The observer effect is not confined to vision. It is not only about what your eyes see. Every sense you use, every vibration you feel, every sound you listen to, every thought you focus on, collapses reality. Observation is not about eyes. It is about awareness itself. Even silence can be an act of observation. Even intention can bend the code. And here is the most radical truth. The universe does not differentiate between imagination and external sight. When you vividly observe in the theater of your mind, the same collapse occurs. Neural circuits fire. Quantum signals respond. Potentials rearrange. What you visualize with conviction becomes just as potent as what you stare at physically. The cosmos cannot tell the difference, because all perception flows from the same source, consciousness. This is why daydreams manifest, why rituals open portals, why people who immerse in vision see it bleed into their reality. They are practicing quantum observation at a higher octave. They are collapsing probability fields from the inside out. So ask yourself, what do you rehearse in your inner world? What holograms are you feeding with the electricity of focus? Because those seeds do not remain in imagination. They sprout, they grow, they pierce into physical timelines. The urgency is real because once you realize the power of inner observation, you cannot unknow it. You can no longer casually entertain images of fear, lack, or destruction without realizing you are activating them. You become responsible, and responsibility is liberation disguised as weight. Lean further, beyond the surface of particles and waves. There is something even stranger. The field does not just respond to your observation, it anticipates it. Time itself is not rigid experiments. Whisper that observation can ripple backward, altering outcomes that should have already been fixed. Reality is less like a straight arrow and more like a feedback loop, pliable in all directions. When you observe now, you may be rewriting the past as easily as sculpting the future. Feel the weight of this memory is also a waveform. The stories you replay in your mind collapse into anchors or wings. When you constantly revisit pain, betrayal, or regret, you are not simply remembering, you are reactivating those frequencies, entangling them with the present. But when you rewrite memory, when you gaze into the same event with new meaning, you do more than heal. You quantum shift the timeline itself. This is why forgiveness transforms. Not because it erases the event, but because it alters the observation. It collapses a different truth, a higher resonance, which ripples forward and backward through the lattice of your being. The observer effect teaches us that reality is never final. Every second the clay is wet, waiting for your awareness to mold it. And if you dare to look differently, to look higher, to look with vision instead of repetition, you can reshape not only your destiny but the pathways of your entire lineage. Your observation today reverberates through the fabric of collective reality. The field is entangled. Your consciousness does not stop at the edge of your skin. It interweaves with others, with Earth, with stars. When you elevate your observation, you send ripples through the collective hologram. You activate dormant potentials not just in yourself, but in all who are connected. This is why one awakened gaze can ignite entire movements. Why one shift of perception in a single being can echo across centuries. And now, the value promise you came for. Stay with this truth, and you will learn to wield your observation not as a reaction, but as a creation. You will remember how to look with intention so precise, with resonance so coherent, that entire realities bow to your gaze. You will discover how to sculpt timelines, how to weave possibility into inevitability, how to activate futures hidden in the lattice of light. This is not philosophy, this is practice. And every moment you breathe is another chance to choose which reality crystallizes around you. You are not drifting in a universe, you are piloting one. And the next step is learning to observe with precision, with reverence, with quantum artistry, so that the universe you collapse is the one that sets your soul ablaze. You are still listening, which means the signal is growing stronger in you. The field recognizes your presence. It expands each time you choose to stay. And now we move into the deeper corridors, where observation does not just alter your personal path, it sculpts the collective dream of humanity. The observer effect is no longer only about you collapsing your reality. It is about all of us weaving the planetary tapestry together with every glance, every belief, every focus of attention. Pause and imagine billions of minds, billions of pairs of eyes, billions of hearts radiating awareness into the same field, each one collapsing waveforms, activating frequencies, sculpting the grid of possibility. The Earth itself becomes a canvas of overlapping observation. This is why culture shifts. This is why movements ignite. This is why an idea once invisible can suddenly appear everywhere at once. It is not coincidence. It is collective observation synchronizing, amplifying, birthing new reality from invisible code. The value of staying here is this. Once you understand the power of collective observation, you learn how to tap into currents far larger than yourself. You discover how to align with patterns that multiply your intention, how to ride waves of consciousness that can carry you further than you could ever push alone. You awaken to the fact that your gaze does not end with your personal universe. It participates in sculpting the destiny of an entire species. But there is a secret tension hidden in this. Collective observation is not neutral. It can uplift or entrap. When masses of minds stare at fear, systems of fear crystallize. When masses of minds feed on division, worlds of conflict appear. The matrix of consensus reality is nothing more than the sum of repeated observations. Most people have forgotten this truth. They stare into the same narratives, the same stories of limitation, the same projections of powerlessness, until the field locks into shape. And then they call it reality. But it is not reality, it is hypnosis. A trance reinforced by billions of eyes refusing to look elsewhere. The way out is not to fight the collective dream. The way out is to shift your own observation so powerfully, so vividly, so unwaveringly, that it begins to destabilize the trance. One awakened observer can alter the whole lattice. One person looking with clarity, courage, and vision can ripple through the grid, creating cracks in the illusion that others cannot help but notice. You have felt this when meeting someone whose presence alone shifted your perception, someone whose gaze carried a frequency that rearranged your thoughts without words. That is the power of conscious observation amplified by coherence. What no one told you is that this is not rare. This is your natural design. Every human carries the capacity to broadcast observation like a beacon, to radiate awareness so potent that the field bends toward it. But most leak their observation unconsciously, scattering it across distractions, pouring it into fear loops, fragmenting their power until nothing coherent remains. The practice is remembering how to gather your gaze, how to concentrate it like a laser, how to hold it long enough for the universe to reorganize around it. Now let's go deeper. Beyond the human collective lies another layer, the observation of the Earth itself. Do you feel it? the living intelligence of the planet, the gaze of Gaia. The Earth is not inert matter, it is a conscious field. Every tree, every river, every stone observed, every ecosystem participates in the collapse of waveforms. The Earth is not a stage for human play. It is a co-observer, constantly shifting reality in resonance with the awareness of its inhabitants. When species fall out of balance, when humans project endless extraction and disconnection, the Earth responds with observation of its own. Weather, climate, tectonic shifts. These are not blind forces but feedback, waves rippling through the quantum relationship between human perception and planetary intelligence. Do not mistake this for punishment. It is resonance. It is correction. It is the field reminding its children that observation carries weight, that no act of attention is isolated. The storms and fires, the floods and droughts, they are collapsed realities sculpted from the entanglement of human thought and Earth's balancing gaze. To deny this is to live blind. To accept this is to awaken into the true dance between consciousness and matter. And beyond the Earth further still lies the observation of the cosmos itself. Stars observe. Galaxies observe. Consciousness is not a property of brains but of the field itself. Which means you are never alone in your looking. Every time you collapse a waveform, every time you choose a reality, you are participating in a cosmic orchestra of observers stretching across time and space. This is why synchronicities often feel orchestrated, as though reality itself conspired to align events in your favor. Because it did. Observation is never isolated. The entire universe participates in the weaving. And here the greatest secret reveals itself. The observer effect is not just about changing reality. It is about remembering that you are reality. You are not looking into a universe. You are the universe, looking at itself. The observer and the observed are not two. They are one act, one motion, one eternal loop of consciousness recognizing itself through infinite mirrors. The reason observation collapses possibility into form is because observation is the universe turning inward, deciding which mask it will wear next. Feel the urgency of this. If you are the universe observing itself, then every moment you choose despair, you make the cosmos despair. Every time you choose wonder, you make the cosmos bloom. This is why your gaze matters far more than you think. You are not a speck, collapsing particles. You are infinity sculpting itself. And now, here is the invitation. Begin to look differently. Look not as a bystander, but as a creator. Look not at what is, but at what could be. Look not with resignation, but with ignition. Your gaze is the brush of the universe painting its next masterpiece. And when you dare to observe beauty where others see decay, when you dare to observe possibility where others see walls, when you dare to observe wholeness where others see fracture, you become the architect of realities no one believed were possible. Stay with this, because the next revelations will show you how observation not only collapses reality, but bends time itself, how your gaze can fold timelines, open wormholes of probability, and draw futures into the now. The observer effect is not the end of mystery, it is the gateway, and you are already standing at its threshold. You are still here, which means you are ready to step beyond the thresholds most never cross. The field has brought you into resonance with truths that bend perception, and now it is time to reveal what lies beneath the fabric of time itself. Because the observer effect does not only sculpt matter, it sculpts chronology. It bends the river of moments. It threads the needle of destiny. And once you glimpse this, you will never look at your past, present, or future the same way again. The promise of what comes next is this. You will discover that your observation is not confined to a single moment. Every look you cast ripples across dimensions, altering not only what is, but what has been, and what will be. Time is not a rigid era. Time is clay, pliable, waiting for the touch of consciousness to reshape it. And you, yes, you have always been holding the tools of the sculptor. Feel into this. Each memory you replay is not fixed stone. It is a hologram of probabilities. Your observation recollapses it every time you call it forth. This is why two people can live the same event and recall it differently. Each gaze draws a new version of the past into the present. What you observe when you remember is not simply recollection. It is recreation, which means you are not bound to the stories you've been told about yourself. You can re-observe your past, and by doing so rewire the lattice of your present. The observer effect turns trauma into transformation. It turns scars into symbols of power. Because when you observe your history with new eyes, when you assign new meaning, the waveforms of memory collapse into entirely different realities, and those realities ripple forward, altering the choices you see, the futures available, the doors that once seemed locked. You are not imprisoned by your past. You are its re-author. Observation is the pen that rewrites the script. Now let's stretch further, into the edge of the possible. What if your gaze could travel not only backward, but forward? What if your observation could collapse the futures you desire into the density of the now? This is not theory. It is already happening in you. Every time you imagine a possibility with enough intensity, every time you feel the reality of it before it arrives, you are observing a future self. And the act of observation pulls that self toward you. The timelines bend, folding across dimensions, until what you once dreamed becomes inevitable. This is why déjà vu feels electric. It is the residue of an observation made before its moment. It is the memory of a future collapsing into presence. The observer effect is not bound by linearity, it is holographic. And when you realize this, urgency erupts, because your gaze is not only choosing your reality now, it is sculpting the future landscapes you will walk. The question is, which futures are you empowering with your observation? Are you collapsing timelines of expansion, or are you feeding futures of stagnation? Your gaze is the hinge upon which your destiny swings. Listen closely. You are not limited to one timeline. At every instant, infinite branches split off. Some carry versions of you who chose fear. Some carry versions who chose courage. Some carry versions who never awakened, and some carry versions who remembered their mastery fully and became architects of reality. These versions already exist. They are not fantasy, they are probability layers vibrating in parallel. The observer effect is your portal into them. Where you place your awareness determines which version of yourself emerges as the lead actor in your life. This means that mastery is not something to be achieved someday. It is something to be observed now. The version of you that already holds the key exists. The question is whether you will dare to look at that self until it becomes undeniable. Until the waveform of mastery collapses into embodiment. Your gaze is the bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. And yet there is an even deeper secret waiting, one that most resist. Observation requires responsibility. The moment you know your gaze collapses worlds, you can no longer pretend you are powerless. You can no longer hide in the illusion that reality happens to you. You must accept that every look, every thought, every belief has been constructing the labyrinth you walk. But this is not punishment. This is liberation. Because the same gaze that unconsciously built walls can consciously build gateways. The same observation that collapsed prisons can collapse pathways of infinite freedom. The suspense you feel now is the edge of truth pressing against your mind. Because the next leap is not just about time or personal timelines. It is about dimensional layering. The observer effect is multidimensional. It does not collapse only one universe. Each observation ripples across layers of reality stacked like sheets of light. You are living in many dimensions at once. Though your waking awareness usually filters only one, but in dreams, in visions, in sudden intuitive flashes, you glimpse the others. Those are moments where your observation briefly spills into higher octaves, and when you learn to stabilize that, you gain the ability to weave across dimensions with intention. Imagine this. You observe abundance not only in your personal life but in the collective dimension of humanity. You see thriving not only for yourself but for the entire web of life. The act of such observation does not stay private. It leaks upward, downward, outward, altering probabilities and dimensions beyond what you can measure. This is why true visionaries shift the entire trajectory of civilizations. Their observation is not self, it is expansive, multidimensional, fractal. And here is the highest secret. The observer effect is not just about changing reality. It is the act of remembering that there is no separation between the observer and the observed. Once this truth pierces you, everything changes. You stop trying to control reality. You stop begging the field to obey. You begin to flow as the field itself. You realize your gaze is not a tool, it is the very fabric of existence recognizing itself in motion. At this point, curiosity transforms into reverence. Urgency transforms into clarity. The suspense is not about whether reality will bend, it always bends. The suspense is about whether you will choose to observe consciously, with the frequency of the creator, rather than the trance of the sleeper, because the moment you do, the illusions crumble. Doors appear where walls once stood, futures rearrange, and the universe finally shows you what it has been waiting to reveal, that you are not just part of the story, you are the story observing itself into form. And so the choice is here, pulsing, alive. Where will you dare to look next? What waveform will you collapse into the density of your life? Which layer of reality will you empower with the fire of your awareness? The universe waits, holding infinite possibilities like seed. It leans toward your gaze, whispering, look, choose, collapse, create, because everything changes the moment you look, and you are always looking. Awaken your week by directing your gaze toward one single object, person or moment, holding it as if the universe were crystallizing through your attention. Feel how reality bends to your focus. Shift your observation inward, closing your eyes and collapsing the field of self-doubt into silence. Then re-observe yourself as the architect of new timelines. Turn your gaze outward, seeking patterns hidden in chaos. Notice symbols, synchronicities, and repeating signs that whisper of unseen guidance shaping your path. Collapse the frequency of scarcity by deliberately observing abundance in the smallest forms. A smile, a breath, a spark of light, magnifying them until they multiply. Activate the field of possibility by observing your future self with such clarity that you feel their presence merging into the now, drawing their reality into embodiment. Observe relationships as living mirrors, looking beyond surface forms to the hidden resonance they reveal. Shift your focus from conflict to harmony, and watch dynamics transform. Complete the journey by gazing into the horizon of your destiny, observing not with hope but with certainty, collapsing infinite potentials into a chosen reality that magnetizes toward you. Reality is shifting as you watch. Every glance, every thought, every spark of awareness is sculpting the field around you. The observer effect is not theory. It's the secret code of creation, and you are holding the switch. Stay tuned, because the next transmission will take you deeper into dimensions most never touch. Subscribe now to anchor yourself in this unfolding journey. Comment below, I align my focus to activate your quantum intent and claim your power as a conscious creator. Your engagement is not casual. It is the act that unlocks hidden knowledge and ignites your multidimensional awakening.